So we're here at the Cirillo Hooper and Company office today here on a Thursday afternoon, and we're going to do a bit of a weekly advice video blog here with Chris Hooper, partner at Cirillo Hooper and Company, and I'm Gemma Schilling and I'm the Business Development Officer here. So we've got a question that came in from one of our followers today on Twitter, which was Hannah Paul, and she was asking about how to take her business idea from just an idea into implementation and what tools that are available. So Chris is going to answer that. Chris, what do you think?
Alright, so in terms of getting from the idea stage to implementation, I think the number one problem that entrepreneurs have is probably too many ideas, and I know you suffer from this and I suffer from it too. So you actually need to have a time efficient way to actually, I suppose, prioritise these ideas and actually validate them sooner rather than later. And things like Startup Weekend are actually a really good opportunity to get sort of instant feedback. For all of those that don't know what Startup Weekend, it's essentially like a 54 hour business fest, if you will. Yeah, it is. You pitch a business idea. The crowd votes for your business idea. If you actually get through, that's instant validation, instant market feedback. If nobody votes for your idea, chances are it's pretty crappy, and you should just walk away from it. Yeah, okay. But if your idea gets voted for, then you go to the next stage. Okay. And the next stage is about sort of developing the business plan, developing a minimum viable product that you can take to marketplace pretty quickly, and then also getting your market validation. Yep. And at the last Startup Weekend, we had people like actually going outside of the office is where all the action happens, okay? And actually hitting up Rundle Mall and getting some feedback from their potential marketplace. And that's where the idea of market validation comes from. So in terms of actually going from idea to implementation, you need to actually have like this filter mechanism, yep, right? Where you have an idea, okay? And then you need to, before you create a site or start with the business plan or register a business name or an ABN or a company, validate the idea first, okay? And don't just go to your friends and family, because your mum's going to say that it's a really, really good idea, okay? Go to your customers, okay? And get feedback from your potential customers. And then, I suppose the next extreme step to actually go from getting feedback from your target market is actually get a purchasing commitment from your target market. Yes. There's a lot of talk about focus groups and that sort of stuff. But unless they're willing to put their money where their mouth is, you may not necessarily have market validation. So people could go, yeah, that's a heaps good idea. Yeah, I'd totally buy that. But if you then ask, okay, well, I've got 100 widgets in my boot. Would you like to buy some? Okay, that's where the true market validation comes from. Because if they go, yeah, sure, let me get my wallet, yeah, that is market validation. Paying customers are the best form of market validation you can get. But in the absence of that, feedback from your target market is good, okay? And then, I suppose, if you can get that feedback and it confirms, yes, there is a market for the product or service that you're offering, then you can go on to the next stage in terms of, you know, putting the business plan together, putting a business model canvas together and that sort of stuff, yeah, so that you can actually evolve the idea. And by the process of doing a business model canvas and doing the business plan, you will come up with new issues and challenges that go beyond yes, actually getting market validation, you know. Because another, I suppose, thing that comes up in the planning process is it may have market validation, but it may not actually be financially viable. Yes. And that's why there are lots of good inventions out there that don't exist today, because yes, the market wants them, but it's not actually economically viable to produce them.
And entrepreneurs seem to be the eternal optimists.
Yeah.
So doing something like a business model canvas, you know, puts everything out there, is the devil's advocate for you, and you know, sees all the channels and things that you could run into.
Correct, and that's why I always say when I'm looking at financial forecasts, divide them by 3, and that's a bit closer to where your forecasts are actually going to lie. So divide your revenue by 3 and then times your expenses by 3, and that's a bit more realistic about where it's going to land.
Definitely.
But once you've actually put together the business plan and that sort of stuff, you've got validation from your marketplace and you've got willing customers willing to spend money. and then everything seems to look alright on the business plan, then you can actually go to the next step.
Yep.
And then that's when you start looking at corporate structures, tax structures, business structures, that sort of thing. You go about registering the ABN, getting the bank account, and all of that sort of stuff, and then you can essentially just go to business. Sounds
great. Alright, thanks Chris, and feel free to continue the conversation on Twitter or ask a question with the hashtag and the whatever you call that thingy. On Twitter.
Twitter handle.
Twitter handle, there you go. And yeah, we'll catch you next week. Bye.